Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jules, here for WhatCulture.com, joined by the living man, the legend. He's made of rock and he likes to sock and cock. He is Scott Tailford. And if we're together, it can mean only one thing. Shut up. Oh. If it means we're together, it can mean only one thing. It's time for some news, so let's hit that intro.
Hot dang, there's news, give it all you got. I guess it's time for Jules and Scott.
And we're back in the room, and today we're talking about the Nintendo Switch. I don't own a Nintendo Switch, but I've always wanted to, because I look at it and I think, apart from the first-party games, there's not really anything that I couldn't get on other consoles. That's just my personal opinion, but I will...
Do you want to play Doom on the train?
No, not really.
Wolfenstein?
No, I'm okay.
Tetris 99?
No, I'd read instead. I'm one of those people who prefers literature sometimes.
There's text in games, it's
not
fine.
The point. The point is that just because I don't own one, Scott Telford does.
He does.
And he's played it mucho more than me. And there's some good news that you've got, because apparently we'll be getting 2 more variants of the Switch coming out soon.
Yeah, I think this is a hell of a conversation. So it turns out the Wall Street Journal have reported that Nintendo are set to debut 2 new Nintendo Switch consoles at E3 to be released months later in time for the holiday window. But interestingly, I mean, my initial thoughts are, good lord, guys, it's only been 2 years. And so,
I mean, the PS 4.5 Pro and the Xbox One X, they came out within 2 years of their original debut.
More like 4?
Is it 4?
Ish.
Wow, time has gone really quickly for me. I thought they were announced, because I thought that Scorpio or Scarlet, wherever
I guess when we first heard word of it, it was closer to the 2-year mark, but still, it kind of marks the industry going down like a more tech-focused route, where it's, you look at the mobile market and there's a new Galaxy every year, there's a new iPhone, and it's just like, I think, the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X were sort of testing the waters as to how would the consumer respond to a new system every couple of years, and that's what we're moving into.
To be honest, they've actually been received fairly well, because when it was announced, a lot of people begrudgingly were like, oh, really?
Like
a stop. Because obviously when you've invested near 400 quid at the time of launch, it is a large amount to suddenly just say, yeah, now stump it up again for what is effectively a slight upgrade, not a full one. But do we know much more details about what these two new models are?
So that's where it gets really interesting. So yes, there's 2 new models, and if they're following the same sort of ethos that it seems that Microsoft are going with. So it's going to be one particular SKU is going to be aimed for gamers. It's going to be an enhanced version of the Switch.
So maybe a bigger hard drive.
Maybe. All they've said is that it has enhanced features. So whatever that is. But basically the source comes from hardware manufacturers who have been assembling these things in preparation or getting to look at the schematics or whatever it is, and have said that it's enhanced features. And the source that talked to Wall Street Journal said to not think of it as just a base, like a very, a small step up like what the Pro was, to think of it as a more meaningful step up. So whatever these enhanced features are, there's something more meaningful.
Because Nintendo have done this before, obviously, with the 3DS, and then they did the 3DS XL, and then they put in the extra nubbin, which was the new 3DS XL, which was, I would consider, if you'd gone from just the 3DS to the one with the nubbin and the actual dual screen, the big one, I'd say that is enough to justify purchasing it again. But these enhanced features will have to be pretty significant, because what does the Switch not do that you want it to do now?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, battery life would be a massive one, but I think that it's weird, because it was the same quandary that the Pro had. It was like, how do you advertise a new console where it has enhanced features or new features that are worth buying, but are not enhanced enough that it makes the people who already invested, it annoys them? It has to be something that is incremental, but also worthwhile. I think the half-step system is a weird thing, but so that's one thing. It's the enhanced console. The other one is a much more cheaper one with vibration removed, and it's more like according to the.
Is vibration a costly input?
Well, apparently, I don't know. I think they're just trying to find a way to cut costs or whatever. So this is meant to be their 3DS replacement, essentially, their go-to handheld version. But form factor-wise, it's going to be a solid thing. Apparently, it's adjacent to the PS Vita, which I love, because I love my Vita.
That actually sounds really good. Obviously, you'd lose the multiplayer aspect of it, because obviously you wouldn't be able to take the Joy-Cons off to play 2-player, but for people looking to jump into sort of the gaming market with the Switch, that's probably the one that I would probably buy, because I would be looking at the one that allows me to play all of the first-party Nintendo games, and I'm not really going to get the ports of anything else, and the multiplayer stuff doesn't really appeal.
Well, I don't think, having had a Switch since launch, I haven't seen a single person use their Switch with the separate Joy-Cons on a train. No one's ever going to do that.
I don't think so.
You're always going to play it as one solid unit, and the reason that I adore the Vita so much is that it's such a solid, great piece of hardware, and everything is just built into it. Nice, powerful little bit of kit. And I think if they have a miniaturized Switch that still does everything, removes the vibration, because you don't need that in handhelds anyway, and then you just have all the games, all the third-party stuff, all the online connectivity, everything, but in a much smaller SKU. and they're phasing out the 3DS like over time anyway. It's a perfect way to go.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I was about to say, like, the 3DS, they have said that they are sort of like taking it off of the sort of development line and things like that now, which is a real shame because it's been such a staple for handheld gaming. But if this new Switch comes in to replace it, I think that would actually be a very smart move on Nintendo's behalf.
I think the only weird thing, like I said, it's like it is analyzing the market. It is sort of like how much is gaming now going down this like technology focused route where we're going to have like iterative systems, because obviously the day one version of whether it's a game or a console is always the worst one. And so now it's like, well, we've iterated on these different consoles and we're just going to sell you another Switch. For me, I think 2 years is too short.
Well, I mean, you're maybe not the target audience then.
I buy everything.
How many 4K TVs have you bought?
Well, 3, but I only wanted to buy one. I had 2.
There's a story behind that.
Oh God, even the one that I have now won't turn on properly. So
Are you kidding me?
Oh God, the audience doesn't. It's a thing. But
maybe you need to buy a Switch actually, a second one, so you've got a backup when the first one inevitably fails.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't mean to call out Mr. JB Josh Brown, but he's the biggest advocate for the whole 4K revolution, all that kind of jazz. And I just sort of was like, okay, I'll buy into it. It took me years, but I was like, fine, maybe it's like this unseen godly resolution, and it'll be amazing. Go to 4K TV, go to PS4 Pro. It looks the same. It looks nigh on exactly the same. Like if I put it side by side, it's slightly less jagged, but it's the same thing.
Well, maybe the new Switch will have 4K support.
That's the thing. I don't think maybe it will. But even then, Google Stadia's thing was like, oh, we're going to do 8K, and I'm just like, calm down and perfect the games before you do the rest.
Just a slight tangent here. Anyone who actually watched the Google Stadia thing, that was quite funny when they were going like, it will support 4K, and everyone was like, yeah, and then it was like, it's going to support 8K as well, and people were like, oh God, I'm going to have to buy a new bloody TV again.
The thing is as well, we need to get a point, because I think the human eye can see up to, if I get it right, 12K.
Right.
So that's the highest apparently that we can go.
Not mine, I wear contacts.
Yeah, mine are screwed as well.
Yeah.
But the irony of being a gamer is that your eyes won't be ready for the resolution that we're eventually going to get to. But whatever. And apparently Kevin Smith and Stan Lee filmed an interview in 12K before they had playback tech for 12K, but they could film it, so that in the future we'll eventually get to see it.
Oh, brilliant, that's good.
My point is, though, that we have to get to that point before we can keep doing this, throw 400 quid at the latest
and
thing.
Are we there with this Switch?
Well, that's the thing. I thought the whole appeal of the Switch was moving away from all that stuff. And I don't think that this is like the 4K system. It might be, but I think their whole shtick is like, look, it's all the games that you love, but on the go.
Yeah.
And but like, it's a console on the go. I think that's their whole thing, and that's their way of getting around the streaming approach that Google Stadia has, because you can play AAA games on the go, and it's reliable because you don't have a streaming connection.
I mean, I would, like I say, I would think I'd pick up the sort of more basic, solid handheld one. I mean, I'd have to really understand more about what the gamer-centric one actually has, because enhanced features, if it just means a bigger battery life, a slightly bigger screen, or maybe even like a secondary expandable memory unit, like that sort of stuff is essential, but that should have been built into the base product, and maybe Nintendo should have just said, oh, it's not the Switch, it's just the Switch version 2.
I'll tell you what I think they'll do is, because I love the Pro Controller, but like obviously in true Nintendo fashion, everything is sold separately. Like you had to go out and buy like a separate SD card even to have like a decent game install, because the internal memory is only like 28 gig or something. It's not very much for a new game. And the Pro Controller is fantastic, one of the best controllers on the market, but it's separate again. So I think if they bundle that stuff together, they go, hey, it's a Switch with like a meaningful expanded hard drive. It can maybe do 4K. The Pro Controller comes with it. You get around all that. That's their pro gamer version. Because like, you think about the state that Nintendo were in before the Switch. Like they came off the Wii and then the Wii U, and even the GameCube got completely flattened by the PS2.
Yeah, unfortunately, which is a real shame, because again, a shout out to one of the best consoles of that generation.
Oh yeah, totally. But like, it took the Switch to sort of go, okay, Nintendo is back. Like the SNES, the 90s Nintendo is back. N64 Nintendo are like back in the market. And I think they've tested the waters with the Switch and gone, okay, we can appeal to the casual crowd and the whatever the hardcore gamer nebulous demographic is as well. And so if they do a Pro Controller bundle with all these different little features, then maybe that's enhanced enough.
I think personally, from Nintendo's standpoint, this makes sense for them to do. I'm just, like you say, are they actually going to get the return on sales that maybe they would be expecting for the development costs going into it?
I always see it as a slap in the face.
Because we have no idea what the price point is going to be for this.
True.
But how much does a Switch like retail for?
200-ish.
200 quid. So what you'd expect the sort of lower end one to be like 150?
I think they'll drop it right down to compete with the Xbox One S and the fact that they've got the all digital.
Because I was about to say that's getting quite cheap. So that'd be around that sort of price point. And then you reckon that the higher end will be just the same price as a Switch brand new?
One of the other things that the source pointed out was to not compare it to the sort of power specs that we're seeing with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Like it's going to be nowhere near that stuff. So that kind of indicates the price point, because those consoles are going for 300, 400, like on a good day.
Yeah.
Depends what obviously retailer you go to, but like a lot of sales are usually.
Because I always find it weird when they bring out new models of effectively old hardware and they expect you to pay above the asking price of the original ones out, because it's like by that point the price should have come down to meet it, so that it's still under the value of the original hardware.
I think
does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. But I think like there's loads of people get into that mindset. Like I have a friend who buys the new iPhone every year, and he's in that like loop. And I know there's loads of people that do that, hence the fact that the tech industry responds to that. And it's like, there is a new Galaxy phone every year, and it's like, is that the way that gaming's going? Where like they want to cultivate a demographic or a consumer base that is interested in the latest hardware. And so like if that becomes the thing, then they'll crank one out every year. And Nintendo are the company that have done the most of this. If you look at their
because I mean it's the sort of relics of them being a toy manufacturer at the very beginning, because of the fact they've got that mindset of like, we can just update this small and just tweak it and put it out. It's really interesting when you get into the sort of mindset of like economics and sort of video game reception as a whole, because
in general like brand identity and how much like for me I think it's if you saved up your life savings to get a Switch and then immediately it's like it's only 2 years since launch,
because
there's another one.
It will happen. There'll be some kids out there who won't have like known that they're bringing out 2 new models. They'll buy it and then 2 days later it'll be like there's a new one that's in the stores right now. It's going to happen. Like, and I feel sorry for that kid. So I hope that you're watching, air quotes kid, and you can just now inform yourself to not make that decision, air quotes kid. But yeah, that's basically the news. There's 2 new Switch forms coming out. Let us know if you're interested in this, and if so, which one you would buy and what you would like to see from the enhanced features. I want to see sort of a wish list of things you'd love to see the Switch put in, and maybe some stuff to take out. I don't know, maybe the user interface is not as good as they want it to be. Maybe the Nintendo eShop isn't where you want it to be. I don't know, just that sort of stuff.
I think give it battery life. If you give it a nice solid battery life, that'll solve the vast majority of the handheld problems.
True, yeah, I mean, it's been one of the biggest complaints of the thing. But anyway, I'll also make the cartridges taste a bit better as well. Anyway, so that's been the news. Thank you very much for watching. You can go follow me at RetroJ with the 0 over on Twitter, and
I'm over there on @/LP89.
And remember, you have been awesome. Never forget that. We will speak to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.